Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to another GT Sport opinion piece. In this one we are going to look at contact, specifically car on car contact. I'm going to ask the question, are drivers doing enough to avoid it? So one thing I have noticed since playing Gran Turismo Sport over the months and years compared to any of the other racing games that I play like iRacing or ACC or Race Rooms is that there is a lot more minor inconsequential contact between the cars and drivers in Gran Turismo Sport than any other game. Now there is of course a number of reasons why that is the case. I think most prevalent and probably the biggest reason why you've got so much contact between the cars, even in a kind of top split lobby like this. So this is a daily race C at this week's race. Group 2 at Sardinia. It's a top split lobby, all A+ drivers, some very well known names within the lobby as well, a couple of World Tour drivers, but as I shall highlight towards the end of this segment in the video, the number of contacts between the drivers is absolutely staggering, given this is meant to be the best players playing at the time on this race. So what reasons do we have for there being so much inconsequential contact? And it's not always inconsequential, there's always going to be contact in any racing game, but it does seem like there's an awful lot within Gran Turismo Sport. Now, two biggest reasons I guess are, one, mistakes do happen. Contact is a thing in motorsport. Every race, I would imagine since motor racing has started, will have featured some kind of contact between the cars. I'd be very surprised if there's any kind of race out there's not been any kind of contact between the cars at some point. So we can't just say there shouldn't be any contact whatsoever. There should be. You know, drivers will make mistakes. They'll not realise who's around them. So there should be, I guess, little bits of contact, but I don't think there should be as much as what we're experiencing in these races at the moment. Other reason maybe for Gran Turismo Sport being a little bit more contacty than maybe something like iRacing is maybe the player base. Certainly Gran Turismo Sport does try to cater for a very wide and diverse range of players, so not everybody that's playing Gran Turismo Sport is, I guess, a motorsport fan. They just like the racing, they just want the action, they're just not caring about things like little minor contacts. It's just not important to them. They don't sort of, I guess, maybe have the same spirit for the rules as maybe a kind of proper motorsport fan out there, it'd be fair to say. Other reasons, I guess, would be there is no consequences. Gran Turismo Sport does have an actually fairly decent damage model and damage system, but it's not used within sport mode, so a lot of the wee contacts you see would probably break suspension, possibly break your aero as well, but I guess just to kind of keep things nice and simple and keep the player base happy, they don't feature damage within sport mode. And finally, the penalty system is taking a little bit of a hike, but we'll get back to the penalty system in just a wee minute. Now, it's not all bad news. You're just seeing a bit of a highlights reel there of all some of the contacts that went on between the drivers, but there is instances where drivers will make a great effort to avoid contact. So will join me on board here, and the driver behind me is R8 Dowtonator, who has a YouTube channel. Do check out his channel if you like, he does some very, very interesting videos. Now, I have been unsighted by the yellow GTR in front of me, who I believe has got dirty tyres, and I'm not sure how they're going to brake into the braking zone. So I brake very early into the sort of tight uphill right-hander, and this quite clearly catches out Dowtonator behind us, because you can see how much he's closing up on us in the mirror. So he takes avoidant action going to the right hand side of my car, but he's straight lined the braking. He's not going to use my car as a brake. He's going to get the car nicely slowed down to avoid contact with my car. Now at the same time, I've realised by the way that Dowtonator was closing up in my car in the mirror that I have caught him out into the braking zone, and so I have deliberately gone wide of the apex just to give his car that little bit more room to play with. And as you can see, as we both come out the corner on the exit, we're going to avoid contact with each other. A fairly difficult situation for both drivers, but by taking the requisite action, contact's avoided. Down here gets a bit of a poor exit. That's just the kind of sometimes the cost of avoiding action. I have been in that position many times where you concentrate on avoiding the car in front of you and you get a bit of a poor exit and you come under pressure from the car behind. But again, just another view of that incident between me and Dowtonator. You can see, as I said, both cars take the necessary action to avoid contact, and there was no contact. There are a couple of examples here of me avoiding contact with other cars or sort of doing strange things in front of me. That's actually PR1 Fire on an alternative account. Has an incident into the last corner, forces us to slow right down a lot slower than we normally would, but that's kind of just how I see the situation. Again, very similar situation with the German here. Has an accident in front of us, forces us to slow down by maybe 12-15 miles an hour, slower than we'd like to come through that corner. Unfortunately, it means we don't quite get the run on the German down into turn number 1. I was a little bit annoyed he actually defended this as hard as he did. The honourable thing, in my opinion, would have been let me through, having basically forced me almost to a halt. So let's take a look at the grid. This is the number of contacts that each driver in that race had. So you can see at the front and generally towards the back of the grid there is a little bit less contact. It's in that midfield where it all gets a little bit chaotic. You can see positions 7 to 21 having quite a lot of contact there with each other, but 149 contacts between 20 drivers and 14 laps. And perhaps worst of all, not one penalty dished out for them. Now, speaking of the penalty system, I interrupt this video to give you a short announcement. This is an appeal to anyone out there who may have seen the GT Sport penalty system. The GT Sport penalty system was last seen on the 11th of May 2021 in Barcelona, Spain. We're very worried about the GT Sport penalty system. It did make mistakes in the past, it certainly did manage to upset some people out there, but it always did everything with the best intentions. Unfortunately, I think all the criticism on Twitter and Discord and the GT Planet, the GT Sport penalty system has gone into hiding. But we want the GT Sport penalty system back. We miss it. We really do miss the GT Sport penalty system. Yes, it had its little quirks. Yes, sometimes it could frustrate you to the point where you wanted to break the disc in half. But we miss it. It brought an element to the game that is just completely missing now. So if you have any information whatsoever on where the GT Sport penalty system is hiding, then please contact Polyphony Digital on Twitter. Now, Polyphony Digital do not have the best reputation for communicating with its community, but I think in the case of the GT Sport penalty system, if you can retrieve it, if you can tell PD where to find it, how to bring it back, I think you'll see a new Polyphony Digital in terms of communication, because they must miss it as well. They must miss all the criticism on Twitter, all the criticism on Instagram and wherever else all these young people like to post things and moan about stuff. But this is just an appeal to everyone out there. If you know where the GT Sport penalty system is hiding, then please let us know. We want it back. We miss you, GT Sport penalty system. We don't just miss you, we love you. Well, emotional stuff there, I'm sure you will agree. But let's get back to the subject on hand, and that was contact. Let me know what you think. Do you think there's too much contact in Gran Turismo Sport? Do you think drivers do enough to try and avoid contact? How would you like to see Gran Turismo Sport resolve its kind of contacty problem, if you like? Would you like to see damage on? Would you like to see maybe a specific race where it's maybe kind of more aimed at kind of simulation with damage and a longer race and a penalty system? Would you like to see the penalty system back? We've just seen a very heartfelt appeal there for the penalty system. I personally quite like to see the penalty system back myself. I didn't think it was too bad before it sort of went into hiding. But yeah, that was just a very brief short video about contact in Gran Turismo Sport. I think it's a little bit of an issue in the game. I think drivers could maybe try harder to avoid contact now. Again, I don't think it's all just down to the drivers. It is definitely, as I've already mentioned, other elements why drivers maybe think it's a little bit more acceptable to bang doors with other cars more often than not. Would you like to see like a completely revamped system brought into the game, maybe something like iRacing system? Because it must be, I could quite easily count all the contacts that each car made there, so I'm going to assume that the telemetry within the game would be able to kind of then calculate all those contacts and then kind of maybe punish a driver in some way, shape or form based on that. You know, a kind of shared system like a lot of other racing sims use. If you make contact with another car, you get the blame for it, they get the blame for it. If they make contact with you, both drivers get blamed for it. I then think there's a lot of emphasis and of motivation for all drivers to avoid contact as much as possible. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments section. If you've made it to this point, thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you know where the Gran Turismo penalty system's hiding, then do get onto Twitter and let them know. I'm going to put that appeal out to as many Gran Turismo sources as I possibly can. I think it's very powerful, and I think if that can kind of bring the penalty system back, then I really don't know what can. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.